1940. German soldiers march for 10 days straight without sleep. They cover 35 kilometers per day through the Ardennes forest. They crush France in 6 weeks. The Allies are stunned. How did Germany move so fast? How did their soldiers not collapse from exhaustion? The answer was in their pockets. Small pills, millions of them. 35 million pills distributed to 3 million soldiers. The drug was called Pervitin. You know it today as methamphetamine. This is the story of how Nazi Germany became the first nation to weaponize drugs on a massive scale. How a pharmaceutical company marketed crystal meth as a miracle pill. How the Blitzkrieg was literally powered by speed. And how this decision created an entire army of addicts, destroyed millions of lives, and contributed to some of the most brutal atrocities of World War II. To understand what Pervitin did to German soldiers, we need to understand what methamphetamine does to the human body. Pervitin is methamphetamine, pure crystalline methamphetamine in pill form. Each pill contains 3 milligrams. That doesn't sound like much, but it's enough. When you take Pervitin, it floods your brain with dopamine. Your heart rate increases. Your pupils dilate. You feel alert, confident, fearless. You don't feel hungry. You don't feel tired. You can stay awake for days. The German army issued standard doses to soldiers, 2 pills per day during combat operations. That's 6 milligrams of meth per day. Some soldiers took more, much more. Luftwaffe pilots took up to 10-15 pills for long missions. Tank crews took them to stay alert during 48-hour operations. Some infantry units were taking 5-10 pills per day during the invasion of France. The effects last 8 to 12 hours per dose. Soldiers could march all day, fight all night, and march again the next day. No sleep, no rest, just constant movement. That's why the Blitzkrieg worked. German forces moved faster than anyone thought possible. They didn't stop. They didn't slow down. They just kept pushing forward while the enemy was still trying to figure out where they were. But there's a cost. Methamphetamine is highly addictive. After a few days of use, your body needs it. Without it, you crash. Hard. Extreme fatigue, depression, paranoia, hallucinations, and the more you use, the more you need. Tolerance builds quickly. Soldiers who started with 2 pills per day were taking 10 pills per day within weeks. Some were taking 20. So how did this happen? How did an entire nation end up taking meth? The story starts in 1937. A German pharmaceutical company called Temmler-Werke develops Pervitin. They don't call it methamphetamine. They call it a performance enhancer, an alertness aid, a miracle pill for the modern age. And they market it brilliantly. Pervitin is sold over the counter. No prescription needed. You can buy it at any pharmacy. Students take it to study for exams. Factory workers take it to work longer shifts. Housewives take it to get through their daily chores. One advertisement shows a smiling woman holding Pervitin with the slogan, "Pervitin keeps you alert and productive." By 1938, Germans are consuming millions of Pervitin pills per year. The military notices. If civilians can work longer on Pervitin, soldiers can fight longer. In 1939, the German army begins testing Pervitin on troops. The results are incredible. Soldiers march further, react faster, show no signs of fatigue. One test has soldiers march for 55 hours straight. Most of them don't even feel tired. The army is convinced. Pervitin becomes standard issue. September 1939, Germany invades Poland. This is the first real test of Pervitin in combat. German forces move with shocking speed. They cover ground that should take weeks in just days. Polish forces can't keep up. They're still mobilizing when German tanks are already behind their lines. The invasion succeeds in 1 month. Pervitin isn't the only reason, but it helps. A lot. But Poland is just the beginning. The real test comes in May 1940, the invasion of France. This is where Pervitin changes warfare forever. May 10, 1940. German forces launch Fall Gelb, Case Yellow, the invasion of France and the Low Countries. The plan is risky. German armor has to move through the Ardennes forest, a region everyone considers impassable for tanks. Then they have to cross the Meuse River while under fire. Then they have to drive all the way to the English Channel, cutting off Allied forces in Belgium. The entire plan requires speed, constant, relentless speed. And that's where Pervitin comes in. In the weeks before the invasion, the German army distributes 35 million Pervitin pills. That's not a typo. 35 million pills for 3 million soldiers. Every soldier gets a supply. Tank crews get extra. Officers carry bottles of hundreds of pills. The unofficial nickname becomes Panzerschokolade, tank chocolate. The invasion begins. German armor pushes through the Ardennes. Soldiers march day and night. Tank crews drive for 48 hours straight. Luftwaffe pilots fly mission after mission without sleep. One German general writes in his diary, "Our men are performing beyond all expectations. They show no signs of fatigue even after days of continuous combat. It's remarkable." It's also meth. The soldiers are high. They don't realize it, but they're high on methamphetamine. And they're winning. The French and British forces are overwhelmed. They can't understand how German forces are moving so fast. Their intelligence reports say German units are advancing 35 kilometers per day. That's impossible. Armies don't move that fast. Soldiers need rest. They need food. They need sleep. But the Germans don't stop. They just keep coming. By June 4th, it's over. France falls in 6 weeks. It's one of the most stunning military victories in history. And Pervitin played a role. Not the only role, but a significant one. German soldiers moved faster because they didn't sleep. They fought longer because they didn't rest. They overwhelmed their enemies through sheer relentless momentum. And the Nazi leadership notices, if Pervitin helped win France, imagine what it could do in Russia. But by 1940, the German military is starting to see problems. Soldiers who used Pervitin heavily during the France campaign are experiencing side effects. Severe side effects. Some can't sleep even when they want to. Some are paranoid, seeing enemies everywhere. Some are having heart problems. A few have died from heart attacks. They're in their 20s. Military doctors send reports. Pervitin is causing addiction. Soldiers are dependent. Without it, they experience withdrawal, depression, extreme fatigue. Some are suicidal. The doctors recommend limiting Pervitin use, making it prescription only, restricting doses. The military ignores them. The invasion of the Soviet Union is coming. They need every advantage they can get. Pervitin distribution continues. June 1941. Operation Barbarossa begins. 3 million German soldiers invade the Soviet Union, and they're carrying Pervitin. Lots of it. The initial advance is devastating. German forces punch deep into Soviet territory. They're covering 30 to 40 kilometers per day. Soviet forces fall back in chaos. For the first few months, it looks like the Blitzkrieg is working again. But Russia is different. Russia is vast. The distances are enormous. Supply lines stretch for hundreds of kilometers. And winter is coming. As the weather gets colder, as the distances get longer, Pervitin becomes more important. Soldiers take it to stay warm, to keep moving, to avoid freezing to death. But the side effects get worse. Soldiers are hallucinating, seeing things that aren't there, shooting at shadows. Some are experiencing psychotic breaks. In the extreme cold and stress of the Eastern Front, combined with constant Pervitin use, soldiers are literally losing their minds. German commanders start reporting discipline problems, soldiers refusing orders, acting erratically, some committing atrocities that disturb even hardened officers. There's a dark connection here, one that historians are still studying. The atrocities on the Eastern Front, the mass murders, the brutality, some of it is driven by ideology and orders from above. But some of it is also driven by soldiers high on methamphetamine, paranoid, sleep-deprived, and detached from reality. Pervitin didn't cause the Holocaust, but it made it easier for soldiers to carry out horrific acts without feeling. By 1942, the German military is quietly trying to reduce Pervitin use. It's no longer over-the-counter. It requires a prescription. Doses are supposed to be limited, but enforcement is impossible. Soldiers are addicted. Officers look the other way because Pervitin-fueled troops perform better. And pharmaceutical companies keep producing it because it's profitable. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Hitler himself was addicted to drugs. His personal doctor, Theodor Morell, gave him daily injections. Vitamins, he called them. They weren't vitamins. Analysis of Morell's records after the war shows Hitler was receiving injections of methamphetamine, opiates, steroids, and other drugs, multiple times per day. By 1944, Hitler was receiving injections before every meeting, every speech, every decision. Think about that. The man making strategic decisions for Germany was high on meth. His judgment was impaired. His paranoia was drug-induced. His increasingly erratic orders, his refusal to allow retreats, his delusions about wonder weapons saving Germany. All of this is happening while he's getting multiple drug injections per day. The Allies know about Pervitin by 1942. Captured German soldiers have the pills. Intelligence reports document their use. British and American military consider using similar drugs. They experiment with amphetamines. American. Bomber crews use benzodrine, a milder stimulant, but they never adopt anything on the scale of German Pervitin use. Partly because their doctors warn about addiction, partly because they don't need it. Allied supply lines are better. Their soldiers can rest and rotate. By 1944, the German military is falling apart, and Pervitin addiction is part of the collapse. Soldiers who've been taking meth for years are physically destroyed. Heart problems, psychological problems. Some are barely functional without the drug. But supply lines are breaking down. Pervitin shipments aren't getting through. Soldiers are experiencing withdrawal in the middle of combat. Some units are combat ineffective not because they're out of ammunition, but because they're out of meth. There's a story that captures the insanity of Pervitin use. A Finnish soldier named Imo Koivunen, March 1944. His unit is being chased by Soviet forces. They're exhausted, running low on supplies. Koivunen is carrying the unit's Pervitin supply. In a moment of panic, he takes the entire bottle. 30 pills. That's 90 milligrams of pure methamphetamine at once. He blacks out. When he regains consciousness, he's alone. His unit is gone. He has no idea where he is. And he's still high, massively high. For the next 2 weeks, he wanders through the wilderness in a meth-fueled delirium. He skis over 400 kilometers. He steps on a landmine and survives. He eats a bird raw. He's shot at and doesn't notice. When Finnish forces finally find him, he weighs 43 kilograms. His heart rate is 200 beats per minute. He survives. Somehow. It becomes one of the most insane survival stories of the war. After the war, the Allies try to suppress information about Pervitin. They don't want the public to know that the German military was running on meth. It's too complicated, too disturbing. But the evidence is everywhere. Letters from soldiers mentioning the pills, medical records showing addiction, testimony from survivors about the drugs. Temler Werke, the company that made Pervitin, continues operating after the war. They stop making methamphetamine, but they face no consequences, no trials, no punishment. The drug they created addicted millions and enabled atrocities, but it was legal when they made it. So they walk away. Today, methamphetamine is one of the most destructive drugs in the world. It's illegal almost everywhere. Highly addictive. Devastating to individuals and communities. And it all started with a German pharmaceutical company that thought they could control it. That thought they could give soldiers a performance boost without consequences. They were wrong. Pervitin, the drug that powered the Blitzkrieg. The drug that helped Germany conquer Europe. The drug that turned millions of soldiers into addicts. The drug that contributed to the collapse of the Nazi war machine. It gave Germany a short-term advantage and a long-term disaster. The lesson isn't subtle. You can't chemically enhance your way to victory. There's always a cost. The human body isn't meant to run on stimulants for years. The mind breaks down. Performance collapses. And in the end, the drug that was supposed to create super soldiers created something else. Broken men, addicts, casualties. Nazi Germany's meth army, the Pervitin Blitzkrieg. One of the strangest and darkest chapters of World War II. A story of how a nation convinced itself that chemistry could replace rest, that pills could replace training, that drugs could win wars. They couldn't. They never can.